Boom, and there we go. Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse podcast. If you are watching, you can see that we have OG co-host of the Fantasy Ace Ball podcast, Raymond Atherton, on the show today. You can follow Raymond on X at Raymond Atherton. What up, Raymond?
What up, dude? How you doing?
Fantastic. I was just complimenting your killer ceiling in your new house. I love it. It's way better than my just standard drywall ceiling. So I'm not even going to show it. It's super cool. But you can follow Raymond on X, and we brought Raymond in the ringer because he is a Detroit Tigers fan. And so we're going from Astros fan with Jake to Tigers fan with Raymond. And then I think that we'll probably have John on the next podcast. And Doc has been doing a lot of traveling lately for work. So hopefully he'll be back for the following week for next week. And you can follow me, Tim Kanak, on X at Fantasy Ace Ball. So we're going to jump right in, start talking some Tigers prospects. Top 20 Tigers, number 20, Roberto Campos. So Roberto Campos is a Cuban outfielder in Double-A. And I'm going to throw his F scores up here. Boom. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can check out those F scores. And you can see they're a bit subpar. So you might say, why, Tim, do you like this guy? There's not really anything special about him. He's hitting 240 or whatever. He only hit a few home runs, a few steals. Like, what's going on here? And it's not like he was hurt. He played in 101 games. Well, Roberto Campos is a big dude, 6'3", 200 pounds. Has some athletic tools. There's some power and speed here. This is number 20 in the system. If he's a number 4, number 5 outfielder, okay, that's not bad. Like I don't think Campos is going to be a star or anything by any means. Every system is different. I mentioned this on like every other podcast where I'm like, hey, the Orioles top 20 is going to be different than the Padres top 20. Completely different systems. The Orioles are one of the top, and the Padres are one of the worst. The Tigers have a pretty good system. But the Tiger system in general is very, very top heavy because they have like some of the best prospects in all of baseball, like right at the top. So Roberto Campos, Raymond, what do you have on this fine gentleman?
I thought you were kidding when you said we were going to start with him. That's hilarious. I don't know a lot about him. I didn't know anything about him until you included him on this list. I will say there's a minor league stadium like one town over, and one of my favorite things to do is to like watch the height weight listings and then look at them in the batter's box and just be like, that dude is not 6'3", 200.
Yeah.
Especially as those kids bulk up.
Are you watching what are you watching Double-A or Triple-A?
We have the the Dodgers High A in Midland, Michigan.
So maybe you've actually seen him.
They're the Great Lakes Loons. They have Jose De Paula or Josu, however you say his first name.
Josue.
I watched him hit a leadoff home run over the summer. But no, I would be surprised if Campos was more than like a short side platoon fill-in outfielder. I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, last year he was pretty solid in High A. 21-year-old with a 126 WRC plus, 10 bombs and 11 steals. So I feel like there's a little bit of something here. Big dude, like he could turn into a backup. So like it's not nothing for number 20. So let's jump then to someone we will have more to say about. That's number 19, Ben Jacobs. So Ben Jacobs was the 3rd round pick for the Tigers from Arizona State. Ben Jacobs has not yet pitched in pro ball. He's only pitched in college. And he had a 20.4 K minus walk rate last year at Arizona State. I'm going to actually, because I can, we're going to throw up some video here. Check this out. This is how fancy we are nowadays, Raymond. We got some Ben Jacobs video ready to go. Check this out. This guy's short. He is a lefty that is 6'1", 195 pounds. But he's known for his fastball and his changeup combo. The changeup is supposed to be his best pitch. And fastball is supposed to be like a low to mid 90s, but high ride fastball. We don't have statistics on it yet because he has not pitched in A-ball, spring training, or AAA yet. So we don't have the StatCast data on these pitches. but that's a pretty nasty changeup. Just watching some of this video here.
The Tigers have a pretty good front of the line starter with a nasty changeup.
Oh yeah, look at that. That was sick. So there might be a little something here for Ben Jacobs. He was second in the entire Pac-10 in strikeouts. Is that the last year of the Pac-10? Isn't it something else now? Where's Arizona? No, they
Uh,
mixed all these teams up. I don't even know where Arizona State is anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I think the Pac-10 might not exist anymore. Everyone went to the Big 12 or the. I don't know.
SEC. Yeah, I don't. The football's different than the other sports. I don't know. I cannot keep track anymore. They should have just left it from back when I was
Yes,
in college.
yes, the Pac-12 still exists, but it's been completely rebuilt and is different from the conference that existed until 2024.
So strange.
Okay.
So you see Ben Jacobs here. Are you excited now that you see some of these pitches? He looks actually pretty filthy. Small dude, but there's some filthy stuff there.
Yeah, dude, that recoil looks really familiar. I can't place it. Um, so as I was going through this, and I'm sure I'll say this more than once, like my problem with all of these, especially Tigers players, is like, are you going to be a starter or are you going to end up in the bullpen? Because I don't know if anybody in the majors blurs that line more than the Tigers do. And so like when you're reading about their, pitch mix and stuff, it's like, well, could they stick in the rotation? It's like, well, what does that mean for the Tigers? But no, I like him a lot, especially like when the Tigers commit, the high draft capital. It's something you hear a lot more in football than you do in baseball. But um, I mean, they took him inside the top 100, and the 92 to 94 is pretty good for a lefty. You don't have to throw 100 like Scooble all the time.
Yeah, for sure. If he can have a third pitch too, because I've been just been watching that changeup this whole time this video's been on, and I feel like every single strikeout that we just watched was pretty much on the same pitch. So that changeup's pretty dirty, but he definitely should try to develop something else that run like a curveball or something that runs in a different direction. I mean, he throws it. He also throws a curveball, but um, none of those strikeouts were on the curveball. So number 18, we're going to get to a different pitcher here who is pretty interesting in my mind because he did not get a full run this season. So there's probably some fantasy value here in like super deep leagues if you're in like a 30 teamer or something like that. And you can see if you're watching that number 18 is Jake Miller. So Jake Miller, was an A ball and in double A this year. And he's a 24-year-old and he got hurt. So he only pitched 20 innings on the season. And he pitched a few starts in April. And then at the end of the year, he made a couple relief appearances and A ball just doing rehab to like the last two games of the year. So I don't know how, like what injury he had because minor leagues, they never tell what kind of injuries that dudes have. But last year in 87 innings, so a larger sample size, he pitched in A ball, high A, and double A Raymond and had a 25.4 K minus walk with a 15.4 swing strike rate and an under one whip. And then this year, obviously the injuries, but he still had a 20.5 K minus walk and only a 4.8% walk rate. So this dude is pretty freaking interesting for me. Jake Miller. Have you heard of him or what do you know about Jake Miller?
Yeah, no, I have heard of him. One of the themes around the Tigers pitching prospects, I think, is kind of like a who's next after Jackson Jobe and um, who is it? Troy Melton, who threw like 50 innings with the Tigers this year.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Ty Melton, but that's probably because Ty Madden's name is on my screen. Um, but I think Jake Miller is part of the answer to that next wave of Tigers pitching prospects. He's got a wipeout slider and a pretty decent changeup against righties. I was trying to find out what his injury was, but I don't think I'll be able to do that. But
Yeah. It's so hard to find unless they disclose it. It's so hard to figure out what they, what happened to some of these guys.
uh, back injury kept him out for 2025, but that's not
Oh,
what.
back. Yeah, back is not
Uh,
good, but the good news is that he did pitch at the end of the year. So I guess we have to assume that he's probably going to be healthy next year. And as a 24-year-old who has pitched in Double A in back-to-back seasons due to injury, you would think he's probably slated for Triple A to start the year, right, Raymond?
yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if MLB.com has his ETA at 2026, so I wouldn't be surprised if they let him try and make the team out of spring training. The Tigers bullpen just needs some bodies in it, so they'll take the best. They're not shy about just taking their best, however many, eight north. But
Yeah.
no, I think he'll be pretty good. I if I had to guess, I'm gonna say this a lot. He's probably gonna end up in the bullpen, but
His pitches, you can see this is his Arsenal data from A ball because he hasn't hit Triple A yet. So we actually do have some Arsenal data from him, 928 pitches. But some of the movement on these pitches is pretty crazy. 10 inches of vertical movement on the fastball. That's pretty ridiculous. So that's good. It was 16.8% swinging strike rate. So that's a really good fastball. The slider, he's only throwing about 80, even though it has a 19% swing strike rate. So yeah, it has it gets swings and misses, but he's not really throwing it too hard. And this sinker, look at the movement on this pitch here, Raymond. 92.6 mile per hour sinker with 10.7 inches of vertical movement, and that's not even including gravity, and then 6.5 horizontal. So this thing is it's only 8.8 swing strike rate, but that thing is moving so much. Like I don't even know how anyone can barrel that. And he's throwing it at a 54% strike rate. That's a good pitch, that sinker there for Jake Miller. But he's got a 115 control on the F scores, 107 stuff, 100 FERA. So pretty interesting player here, I think, if he can stay healthy for Jake Miller.
it's probably we're saying the Tigers haven't stretched him out yet as a starter. So if they do that, I would not be surprised if he spends a big chunk of time in the minors. But if they keep him as a reliever, he might be fast tracked to Detroit.
Yep. Number 17 is Isaac Pacheco, third baseman. He's been around for a hot minute here.
For,
I feel like he's been around forever because he was drafted back in the second round of 2021 as a high schooler, paid almost $3 million so back in 2021. That's some nice signing bonus money there. Pacheco's deal is that he strikes out way too much, but there is some power here, and he had a pretty decent season last year, but he was still only in high A. So this guy's been around since 2021 and he's still only made it to high A. I don't know what that really says about him, but a 155 WRC plus last year is pretty good. So like, I don't know why they like didn't promote him when he was having such a good season and just left him there the whole year. But I don't know what that says about how they think about him, but he has a 113 power F score on the F scores, 99 hit. So it's not bad. 98 discipline. So he's more or less kind of like an average hitter with plus power. So that's kind of interesting, especially because third base for prospects and for fantasy kind of sucks. So I mean, like 68% contact rate isn't great, and neither is the 29% K rate, but he is at least getting to power, almost a 900 OPS. So, I mean, like there is something here. It's a little interesting. You'd rather take that than like a Cabron Hayes profile all day, I think, for fantasy. But I don't know. He's still only 22. So what do you think about Pacheco?
he's 23, but I think the what you said is exactly why he's still in A ball is because he was not drafted by Scott Harris and the current Tigers Brain Trust, whose entire hitting mantra is don't strike out too much, take your walks, attack the strike zone. So the fact that he doesn't do those things well, I would imagine they want him to start doing those things well, and he hasn't yet. So he hasn't moved very much. But I mean, yeah, the 17 home runs last year is decent. 887 OPS. It's got power, but the Tigers really care about strikeouts, and he strikes out
Yeah.
way too much.
Yep. Bench bat, maybe?
I don't even know. Maybe quad A player
Yeah.
when he's
That's kind of
27.
that's a nice beer league profile. Next on the list, number 16 is Max Anderson, second baseman, who's pretty close. Kind of going to be interesting here because if the Tigers promote Max Anderson, to take some room ahead of Kevin McGonigal. I think there's going to be like maybe a riot or something. You tell me as a Tigers fan, but the F scores like him a lot. Kind of an interesting player because he's a hit first guy, and I don't really know for fantasy if he's really going to get to power in the majors, especially in that ballpark. But a 106 hit tool is really good. That's like the hit scores on F scores maxes out at like 112. So 106 is actually pretty good. A lot of these other scores will get up to like 150s and stuff like that, but hit tool is a lot less of a, I guess, disparity between the differences. So like a 1 point difference in the hit tool matters a lot more than like a 2 or 3 point difference in power speed, just to give you a barometer. But 104 power, 106 hit, 98 discipline, 87 speed, 108 durability, and then a 132 age adjusted WRC plus. So pretty solid age adjusted WRC plus there. But he's running good contact scores, doesn't strike out a lot. He's not really walking either, with 15% K rate, about a 6% walk rate. But the dude did hit 19 homers, and his power is slightly average. And 104 90th EV is like exactly MLB league average, but the max is only 107. So it's kind of like he's just like really getting close to the max a lot. And a 50% ground ball rate kind of is like, I don't know how much power he's going to get into, but I think he's a good hitter and could be a nice bench piece as the Tigers kind of transition into a bunch of these young guys. What do you think about Anderson, Raymond?
Yeah, I think he has two things going for him to help get him to Detroit faster. One, he's right-handed. The Tigers desperately need a right-handed infielder, specifically a third baseman. They are just so lefty leaning up and down that lineup. And they moved him to third base, I don't know when last year, but he took to it pretty nicely. Yeah, on my notes, he has, like I said, a ton of contact, or like you said, ton of contact, but the quality of that contact will probably determine if he's just a bench bat, like you said, or something more than that. But 50% ground ball rate, 22% line drive rate, the quality of contact would be my biggest question. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get some decent run in Detroit this year, depending on what happens with some of the bigger names, Alex Bregman, Ketel Marte rumors that started flying today around the Tigers infield. But they have to figure out how to add right-handed infielders somehow.
Yeah, for sure. Next on the list is going to be a starter slash reliever. So one of these guys that you were kind of mentioned or preluded, it's Kelvis Salcedo, who only hit a ball. I'm going to pull up his profile here on our thingy. But this guy's pretty interesting because he only throws like 2 pitches. Let's see what kind of data we have on him here. 107 F stuff, a 127 F control, 105 FERA. And he had, look at this, he had a 170 Sierra. So JAERA is Sierra. For minor leagues, he had a 170. That's really good. But you can see here, he threw his fastball almost 50% of the time. Then he threw a cutter and a changeup. And then he threw these couple of pitches here, slider, sinker, barely. The cutter, a 27.7% swinging strike rate on an 88 mile per hour cutter is absolutely ridiculous. And he has a 30% swinging strike rate on that changeup. This is a guy that we have to look at, Raymond, because he's have you ever watched Kelvis Salcedo before?
I have not.
I'll tell you, this guy. What did that just say about his height and weight? It said 6 foot, 180 pounds. You tell me, does this look like 180 pounds?
No, that's a big boy.
Yeah. He looks like Big Sexy up there.
MLB.com has him, 6 foot 180.
Yeah, there's no way he's 180. He unless he spent he was 180 like at spring training and then has spent his entire season just like chowing McDonald's every meal. There ain't no way because he's a big boy. But I want to check out this cutter here. Let's see what we got on this almost 30% swing strike rate cutter. Because that's
MLB.com has it as a slider. It says the pitch comes with cutter-like velocity and glove slide movement, but shows impressive drop and spin that fools batters routinely.
Oh, there it is. You know why? Is because a lot of these metrics, like the gyro slider, will get labeled as a cutter or a
Yeah,
slider,
right.
depending on everything. So, like the gyro slider kind of messes with it with all these things. The good thing is that there's now a designation for sweeper. ST is the designation for sweeper. So now there's a difference between sweepers and sliders, but they haven't figured out gyro slider yet. They just call it cutter or slider. But yeah, we saw a couple examples there. So Salcedo pitched 68 innings last year. He made 10 starts and 8 relief appearances with a total 23.6 K minus walk rate in A ball as a 19-year-old. So this big boy is only 19. What do you think? Oh, that's
Um,
nasty. That was nasty right there.
why don't you have video on everyone? No, I'm just kidding. No, I just mentioned how 50% ground ball rate for Max Anderson is a bad thing, but he is a ground ball merchant, which is usually unsexy but very effective for fantasy. So um, the command comes and goes because he relies on hitters to bury that slider cutter into the ground and hit ground balls. Apparently, he has a splitter, but he can't throw it for strikes. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if he sticks as a starter because I like those high ground ball rate guys. Um, they're usually undervalued in fantasy, but no, if he can, I think the ceiling might be a little capped. Like you said, 6 foot 180. The He touched 98.5, but no extension, no extension.
Yeah, you can see here. Look at this pitch, man. This cutter, he throws it for strikes 59% of the time and walks only 24.1. That's insane. So like that means 76% of the time it's either a ball in play or it's a strike, which
Yeah,
is like one of the best rates that I've ever seen on a single pitch. Going through these F scores on this thing, like I've been going through 20 guys for every single minor league team, and I don't know if I've ever seen a pitch that is like that has that low of a ball rate. So that's pretty insane. So that's Calvis Salcedo. Interesting name. Interesting dude. He's almost like you remember Tugboat from the Guardians.
oh yeah.
It's there's like
It's
there's
not
a little
quite, but
yeah, not quite, but there's a little tugboatness here. He's definitely not 180 pounds. I'll say that. So number 14 is a guy who's fallen off. Is Jaden Ham. He was like a top 5 or 10 guy for me in this system at this point last year, but he had a pretty bad year last year. As a Tigers fan, I don't know if you've heard any news or anything on like what happened to him, because here on MLB Data Warehouse, I'm moving the slider so we can see. We don't have pitch level data from him, but last year he had a 256 Sierra, and then this year he had a 404. So his Sierra went up almost 1.5, which is pretty bad. Any news from the Tigers front on like what the heck happened to this guy?
pretty big velo dip in 2025. Um, I don't know. I don't know what went wrong. I know the Tigers had him start throwing more high fastballs, which helped um, generate more whiffs, and then he was throwing his curveball off of it. But the he's kind of grouped in with that next wave of Tigers pitching depth. Like he's kind of one of the next big name, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what went wrong for him. Maybe he was fighting through an injury, but he still put up good numbers.
Yeah, so this is something interesting. Looking at his pitch level data from last year, he was only really like he is throwing his fastball 60% of the time. That's probably
He
just way too much.
he was
Reliant
on
on
the
the fastball.
IL in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, he only threw what? I just had that up. He didn't throw a full gamut. He only threw 22 starts, 88 innings. So it's only 4 innings to start, which is pretty bad for an 11.2 K minus walk, which is also pretty bad considering last year he had a 22.8 K minus walk in 99 innings. But the fastball, he was never a big velo guy. He was more of a ride guy. He still has ride on this fastball, but his average velocity on the fastball this year was only 89.3. That's pretty bad. It doesn't even matter how much ride you have on it. That's not going to be okay. Even though, yes, 12.3 inches of vertical movement before gravity means that he's probably running like 18 to 20 inches of induced vertical break on that fastball, which is good, but not good enough if you're throwing the same pitch 60% of the time. I think he's kind of got to get away from that. It's almost like Kumar Rocker syndrome, right? Or like Kumar Rocker was just throwing like 2 pitches and was really good in the minors. And then as soon as he gets to the majors, it's like, oh, you can't just throw 2 pitches here for 5 or 6 innings. Maybe you could do that if you're a reliever, but not if you're throwing 5 or 6 innings and guys are seeing you 2 or 3 times. So that may be what happened to Jaden Ham. He'll be an interesting name to watch, I think, to see if let's see what his velocity was back in 2024 here before we move on.
I know that they think
Don't
his
have the
changeup
pitch level
can
data.
take a step forward, which would be huge for him.
Yeah, or he should just throw the slider more. He only threw the slider 7 times in the games that we have data from, and it had a 57.1% swinging strike rate. So maybe you want to throw that more than 7 freaking times if everyone's swinging and missing at it. So I don't know. Jaden Ham, look for a rebound, falling on the list, but we're going to move on now to number 13. It's outfielder Seth Stevenson. So Seth Stevenson is a AA outfielder. He's on the older side. He'll be 25 at the break of MLB action next year, but he has a good hit tool and he steals a lot of bags. So you kind of got this, like, I wouldn't quite call it a rabbit profile because he also still knocked 8 bombs and had 21 doubles. So it's not like he's like a rabbit, but he's definitely not a power dude. It's almost like, I don't know, what do you call that, like 10, 30, 25 guy? It's like Brett Gardner or something, right? Like, I mean, he's 5'9", 165 pound righty. So it's kind of like your Brett Gardner profile, I guess, is what I would call that.
Yeah, I don't. There's a better comp for that, but yeah, that's exactly what I wrote down. Like, might stay in center field, can absolutely fly. They say he's a great base runner too.
Yeah, so F scores. He's got a 95 power, 101 hit tool, 102 discipline, 134 speed for a full 104 grade, which is pretty good. Age adjusted WRC plus is not going to like him because number 1, WRC plus is a very power friendly statistic in general. And number 2 is because he's 24 years old in AA. So he's old for the level. So he's going to get dinged on that. But just like you said, he had 60 stolen bases in 2024, 49 in 2025. He's aggressive on the base paths, a 37% attempt rate, which means that 37% of the time he's on first, he's going to run, which the average is 12%. And he had an 89% stolen base success rate. So that means he's going to keep stealing. They're not going to put a red light on a guy who's successful 90% of the time. So tons of speed here. We don't have exit velocity data on the power, so I don't know how real the power is, but the plate skills are solid. 7% walk, 14% K. You kind of like the low K rate. It'd be cool if he walked a little more as a guy who is so good at running, but he also has a good hit tool with a near 82% contact rate. So good hit tool and speed. I think Seth Stevenson's a pretty interesting name. I'd like to see him kind of move a bit quicker as a guy who has only hit AA for now. So I think this is someone who profiles really nicely as like your perfect 4th outfielder on a good team, right?
Yeah, I mean, a player like this will always have a spot in MLB teams, especially when they can run like that. But this scouting report says he's a diminutive man who appears even smaller than his listed 5'9", 165 pounds. He's little.
Yeah, Caleb Durbin all over again. So we're gonna get to number 12, and number 12 is a pitcher who was just drafted, and I believe he was a second rounder. I don't have it up in front of me.
I do, yeah. He was a second rounder.
Yeah, so Malachi Witherspoon is the twin brother of Kyson Witherspoon. So Kyson Witherspoon is one of my favorite players in the last draft, and both of them went to Oklahoma at the same time, and they were both pitchers. So it's so cool. Twin brothers like played college for Oklahoma together, and they both get drafted relatively high. So there's like JoJo Parker, and then his brother actually went back to school or went to college instead of I think I don't know if he was picked or what, but he actually went back to college. But Malachi Witherspoon, I'm gonna throw some video up of him here since we don't have F scores for him. Is really really good, just like his brother, just not as good as his brother. So let's throw this video up real quick as I'm trying to multitask here. What do you like about Malachi? Like, I'm a big Malachi fan. Are you? Do you have him as high as I do here in this ranking?
I do like him, and I like the story, like you were talking about. But this profile of uh, a fastball that just gets pounded with elite secondary pitches drives me nuts. Like that's just such a frustrating profile to have in fantasy when you watch and read about them. And the what I read about him says he sits 95 to 97, peaks at 99, but it lacks life and gets pounded because he can't locate it. Uh, I think the best case comp that I was thinking about is like Tanner Bybee, whose fastball gets pounded, but he has three plus other pitches. But no,
Yeah,
dude,
I, I,
he
I
does
would
the
say,
like he does the like Ubaldo thing where he holds his hands parallel to the ground out in front of him.
yeah, I was gonna say, I would just say that the good thing is that like he has his brother to rely on too. Um, so his brother's fastball is like really really good. It's one of my favorite fastballs. Because it has a lot of ride on it. They're different though. So Malachi's fastball is, you can see that it's almost like a two seamer. It's got like more horizontal movement to it rather than vertical movement to it. So I don't know, maybe him working with his brother, he can develop something with ride on it instead of just going like primary two seamer. Um, because right now with his repertoire of like fastball cutter, just like playing fastballs, like fastball cutter, slider, like he could always develop a sinker too to run against this. And then that way he has fastballs moving like all, I mean, I guess the two seamer kind of is a sinker, but he could develop like a gyro slider or something too to play off of some of these and almost be like an Elmer Rodriguez Cruz type profile, which is actually pretty good in the minors. But yeah, I get the concern, but I think that he's a really good pitcher. Like he's got a lot of the same attributes that I like with his brother. It's just that that fastball is not as good, in my opinion.
Yeah, the write-up I saw said they have very similar arsenals. He just can't
Yeah.
access it, harness it as good as
You,
his brother.
see, so we just watched a Kyson Witherspoon fastball, and his fastball has like 18 inches of vert, if not more. And then we watched Malachi's, and it's running arm side, so completely different fastballs. Like here's the fastball again. So it kind of moves
Hmm.
over 96 right there. So just a completely different fastball. So besides that, their arsenals are almost pretty similar. So kind of interesting to see that. All right. So we're going to jump over now to number 11 on the list is Ty Madden. Ty Madden was hurt. What injury did Ty Madden have? Did he get Tommy John?
No, he had a rotator cuff injury in spring training and then just missed all year.
So is he going to be healthy for next season then?
He began a throwing progression in late summer 25 and is not expected to pitch until the 2026 season at the earliest.
All right.
You know,
So
you know how hard it is to get off-season injury updates.
yeah, not easy. So I've been a big Ty Madden guy for a while. You can see the F score still like him. 110 stuff, 106 control, 98 FERA. Obviously
I was
74 durability because he's been hurt. So the F score still like him, even though he wasn't good when he like debuted. I think a lot of that was just kind of bad luck. I'm not really too concerned about that because he was so dominant in the minors for such a long period of time. Like, yeah, he went through rough patches, like just natural growing patches or whatever, but he was still running like 18% K minus walk rates plus at every single level. So he always figured it out as he advanced up levels. I think he does have some problems with getting hit kind of hard every now and then, but his stuff is pretty good. We can see here on the pitch level data, his slider, 23.2 swing strike rate. And this is a lot of pitches. You see, there's almost like 1,500 pitches of data here. So we have a lot of data here. But that slider's great for 560 pitches, a 23.2% swing strike rate on that slider. It is really sick. 18% swing strike rate on the changeup, so that's also a good pitch. Even the fastball, 11.4 swing strike rate, even though that's subpar for a regular pitch. Fastballs are generally going to run a lower swing strike rate than most other pitches. So 11.4 is even pretty solid. 9.8 inches of vertical movement. So there's good movement in that. The curve is minus 7.2 vertical movement. It's not getting swings and misses, but that's basically your standard 12.6 more or less. There's like barely any horizontal movement. So like the curve, the stats, it's not really good statistically because he's not throwing it for strikes. But I think he's got enough good stuff to be a starter still. I don't think this is like Matt Manning concern, right? Like this is maybe like Casey Mize where he can still bounce back and be good at this
Speaking of
point
the
in time.
KBO, Matt
Yeah.
Manning just went and signed over there.
I saw that.
Yeah, I think the problem for Ty Madden is he's probably just buried on the depth chart. And like you said, he ran some pretty high ERAs, but the Tigers didn't seem to care when they called him up, believing in the the underlying metrics and stuff. The Casey Mize thing is interesting because he has a splitter that the Tigers want him to hone and throw more, but he was hurt, so who knows how that's going. But I think if anyone can help him get that on, I mean, it's nice to have Casey Mize just in the building.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say he's probably a fringe starter, swingman type. He'll probably start the season in the bullpen. The Tigers have been linked to a couple different free agent starters, and Scott Harris at the end of his press conference or the end of the year press conference said they were going to target free agent starters. So I would be pretty surprised if he wins a starting spot outright out of camp, but I think he'll be in the bullpen if he's healthy.
That's probably a good spot for him coming off of injury. He can build back some
Right.
innings. I mean, like
And
we've
then
seen a lot of really good pitchers go from bullpen back to starter again, like
right.
Rasmussen and basically name any pitcher on the Rays, and they've done that. Like you could do that with Ty Madden after this year if he's successful, especially because we've seen how good. Like you look at that slider right there. Like if he just goes and pitches, hey, I'm gonna go fastball, slider, changeup, and I'm going to nix the curve and the cutter and just go fastball, slider, curve or fastball, slider, changeup from the bullpen. With the way that these pitches go, he'd be like really good doing that, as long as he's like back to full health. So interesting name there. Number 10 is outfielder Brett Callahan. Brett Callahan was a 13th round pick. So the Tigers have a lot of these like later round picks who are kind of like popping, but they're older. So for whatever reason, is that a Scott Harris pick, 2023? That's a Scott Harris pick, I think, right?
Yes, Harris was 2022.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, he's drafting these like college guys in these late rounds, and then they're all hitting. Like it takes a couple of years for him, but we just saw the same thing when we talked about Seth Stevenson. But Brett Callahan, you see here, 23-year-old, going to be 24. F scores love this guy. So have his F scores up on the page if you're watching on YouTube. He has a 112 power, 105 hit, 90 discipline. You can live with that because it's like his discipline score is low, not because he's striking out 38% of the time like friggin' Zach Cole, but because he strikes out 22% and then he only walks 6.2. So it's like, okay, it's like he's not walking, but he's not striking out like a tremendous amount either. He's very aggressive. 57% swing rate is pretty aggressive. And then a 111 speed. So pretty interesting F scores here for this dude. And he had 9 bombs with 6 steals, but he only played in 225 games this year. So Brett Callahan, F scores really like him, and that means that I am very interested.
Yeah, he's had some trouble staying healthy from what I've read. He can play every outfield position. Um, he's probably more of a fourth outfielder, but the Tigers like his power potential, which is ironic at Comerica Park, I think. Strong work ethic, good kid, like you said, 13th rounder who just keeps getting better. But I wouldn't be specifically for fantasy. I wouldn't be counting on him to be a stud. But I think I think the Tigers' profile for the prospects that they go after are going to be good major league players and probably not so good fantasy players.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially because the next guy we're going to talk about is How Yu Lee, who seems like a really good, just like future super utility guy or whatever. He's actually still pretty young because it seems like he's been around for a hot minute too. But consistent S scores here with a 100 power, 100 hit, 102 discipline, 104 speed. So he's almost 100 or above, right? Above at every little category. And then a 168 age adjusted WRC plus. He played a little bit in the majors this year, but obviously not enough to break prospect eligibility. What did he play? Did or was that last year? No, actually he didn't. I thought he played in the
I was gonna
majors
say I
for
don't
like
think he ever
5 games.
made it up. I
No, he
think they
didn't.
I
Triple A
think
only.
everyone thought the Tigers were gonna call him up when Veerling because Veerling missed almost the whole year at third base. And they didn't. They figured it out in other ways. So I remember like it being a foregone conclusion that he was coming up, and it just never happened.
Yeah, I thought he came up in September for some reason, but I guess
Hmm.
not. But yeah, 168 age adjusted WRC plus is really good. 14 bombs and 22 steals on the season. He's a good runner too, so high success rates on the stolen base rates. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed, nice hit tool, and good plate skills. So he's just kind of like an all around guy who does everything. EVs are pretty solid: 105.5 90th EV, 112.2 max. So I like how you Lee is like a really nice super utility guy. This is like Ben Zobrist, kind of.
You know, I literally wrote down Matt Vierling. Like he's just I don't think the ceiling's as high as Ben Zobrist. I think he could just be what Matt Vierling has given the Tigers for the last 3 years. Like hit 12-ish home runs, maybe steal 20 bases, and just play all over the diamond and just do whatever he's asked to do well.
Just a mini version, right? Because Matt isn't
Yeah,
Matt Vierling like 6'3" or something like that?
I don't know if he's that big, maybe, but I
6'2".
don't know.
But
I
yeah,
don't.
he's mini
I,
Matt Vierling.
I think the production would be pretty similar. Hit like
Yeah.
240.
Yeah, I like that. I think he's an interesting player. Deep leagues, he could be a really nice bench player because he's going to get a lot of position eligibility. So if you're in like an Otno league and you need like a $1 guy that plays like 5 positions, that's pretty nice.
I think I drafted him in FAI last year, and then I had to cut him.
Well, it's because he didn't get promoted in for Vierling. If he had been promoted, then you would have kept him. Um, we're gonna get to number 8 here, Jordan Yost. So Jordan Yost also didn't debut. Jordan Yost was the first rounder for them, and he's a high school shortstop prep kid. Basically looks like a little kid if if you Google him. So, but he's got some interesting tools. So he's got a good hit tool, known for it being fast too. But he's not a power guy. He's just known for like hit and some speed. So like I kind of like the hit first guys because they generally will actually like pan out and be a major leaguer. So just kind of like how you were mentioning that the Tigers are like really into these like hit tool first types. Like, how do you feel about
Specifically,
Jordan Yost?
specifically left-handed hitting first players. Yeah, I mean he fits the mold. Like the other four guys we're going to talk about as we climb up this list, they're very similar in their approach and their contact and all the things that the Tigers want them to do. Like they have a type and they just keep going dipping back into that well. he was kind of a late bloomer. I think um, the Tigers kind of surprised some people when they took him as high as they did. But I don't know. The Tigers have just a pipeline of shortstops, so that might be a problem at some point. But they people think he can stick there, so we'll figure that out when we need to. But yeah, dude, you're right. He is a baby face, 18-year-old. 5 years from now, he might be in the majors.
Yeah, and he might have facial hair.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe. We'll see. Number 7 is Thyron. I don't know how you say his name, Tyron or Thyron Lorenzo. I've always had
I,
trouble with him.
I think it's Terrion.
Terrion. So they brought him in from the Dodgers, what, a year and a half ago in the Jack Flaherty trade?
Jack Flaherty
Uh,
trade.
yeah, then brought Flaherty back. But Lorenzo is mostly known for his defense as a catcher, but you can see he does have a little bit of pop. So he might be like a 2-catcher league guy. I don't know if he'll ever be like a 12-team catcher, just because he's a defensive guy with power. So he strikes out a lot. 31% K rate last year, but a 111 power tool, 98 hit tool, 99 discipline, 82 speed, which like 82 speed for a catcher is kind of standard. So like don't hate on that too much. Most catchers have like no speed at all. So Lorenzo, I don't know, like he's a switch hitter, which is kind of weird for a guy who's not that great of a hitter. But to me, he's just like defense first. Like I'm not too excited about him. Like, how do you feel as the Tigers fan about Lorenzo?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. The Tigers only don't care about strikeouts if you're elite at defense, and so that's kind of his calling card. I watched. I kind of fell into a rabbit hole just watching him throw people out. The pop and the transfer are elite, and then he's got a cannon too, obviously. But yeah, big power, low average, switch hitter, which is interesting. I think the Tigers are going to need like Jake Rogers' days in Detroit are numbered. So if he can be the right hand, or I guess the left-handed side of the Dylan Dingler catching duo, but I don't know. I don't think the ceiling is super high. Kind of what I said earlier. Like I bet he'll be useful for the Tigers or in real baseball, but I don't know. I don't know how excited we should be in fantasy.
Yep, agreed. Next on the list, number 6, another catcher is Michael Olifto. He was like the comp pick that the Tigers had. So I don't know if you call it like comp first round or back first of the second round or
Competitive
whatever.
balance, I think they call it.
Yeah, whatever you call a competitive balance pick. I don't know if they count as first round or second round. I think they still count as a first rounder. But they picked him with that pick, and he's more of like a hit first catcher than a defense first catcher. So and he's got some power. I think he was in the combine and had some nice numbers in the combine. I've got him ranked actually decently high in my FYPD because I kind of liked some of the stuff I was seeing about him. So let me pull that up real quick here. I've got him ranked at number 50 in the FYPD, and that's including like Japanese players and stuff like that. So not too bad, not too shabby. Catcher for the Tigers is a high school draftee, so I like him more for fantasy than Lorenzo, even though he's further
Yeah,
away. So
100%.
how do you feel about him?
I think the funniest thing, the Tigers took him, whatever you said, 38th, 34th, and
Yeah.
MLB.com had him ranked 219th. I laughed out loud earlier when I read that. Um, but yeah, he's got a smooth lefty swing, gets the barrel to the ball, swing geared toward power, uh, above average raw power for someone his age. He caught all the way through high school, which is kind of a detriment in the draft, which is probably why MLB had him so low. But yeah, I think you're gonna have to wait. But I completely agree with you that the ceiling is much higher with him than anyone else in the Tigers organization who plays catcher. There's one more we haven't talked about, right?
Another catcher? Yeah, we'll get to
Yeah.
him. Or like
Yep.
former catcher. I think he's kind of off catcher now. But
Yeah.
number 5 is outfielder Chris Rodriguez, who only played in the DSL. This is one of my favorite DSL players. He
Dope.
has some of the I think he's like top or was top for power for EVs in the DSL this last year. But 17-year-old, 6'3", 203-pound outfielder. He hit 308, 340, 564 with 10 bombs and 10 steals. In the DSL, there are some like hit concerns with the 68% contact. But to be honest, 68% contact in the DSL is like fairly average. There's like nothing that crazy about that. The 18% swinging strike rate, a little bit. There's like a little bit like Robert Kalaz, like, I don't know. But the power's for real. The dude is big. And I'm a fan of power. And I like some DSL guys who can do a little bit of everything. And one of the things I like about him too is the batted ball profiles. He like never hits ground balls. So he already has a pretty good profile for hitting for power by hitting a lot of pull fly balls. So I'm a big Chris Rodriguez guy, and you spell Chris Chris. So don't put the H. No H, Chris. What do you got, Raymond?
I don't know if you know this about me, but Chris is my middle name.
Do you spell it with an H though?
It's got an H in there for sure. No, I love Chris Rodriguez. It drives me up a wall that he's not available to roster in Yahoo because I would have him stashed so many places. The Tigers don't really dip into the international pool as much as they should, in my opinion. And when they do, they're pretty conservative about it. But I think they paid him a few $1 million, signed him as a 17-year-old. And I think he has all the makings of like a true five-tool outfield. Like he could be a superstar. And I think he's making he's going to start his stateside journey. I think he'll be in Florida Complex League this year. So you might be able to go see him.
Yes.
And
yeah,
dude,
I hope so.
Massive power from what I was reading. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say a Julio comp, but like that's what I'm dreaming on is just like give him 2 years in America to just like actually get eyes on him and see what he can do. And like, I think the sky's the limit.
Yeah, for sure. Number 4, this is a guy that we actually have data on. And this is where we get to the top heavy Detroit Tigers. So I have actually been updating my top 150 prospects. And Josue Briseño is my number 29 overall guy. So we're jumping. I think I've got Rodriguez at like 100 or something like that. He's the only other top. I've got the top 5 in my top 150. I think Rodriguez is around 100 or something like that. And then we were jumping all the way to 29 to Josue Briseño. That's how top heavy these top 4 are. But Briseño, super interesting dude who I don't know if he's going to move to first, Raymond, is the one thing because he's like 6'4", 200 pounds. So he's like a huge dude who could obviously play first and has more of a first base body than a catcher body. And he played 8 games at DH in AA, 27 at catcher, and 10 at first. So they're kind of just trying to keep that bat in the lineup no matter what. And so with Lorenzo also being at the same level at AA and him being like a main catcher type defensive guy, like what do you as a Tigers fan feel is the future for Briseño? Is he going to move to a different position full time, or are they just going to make him like backup catcher / first base / you do whatever, kind of like the Athletics have that Soderstrom like moving all over the place until they're like, okay, Soderstrom, I guess you're an outfielder now. What do you think is the future for Briseño?
So he had a knee injury, and so after he came back from that, the Tigers just straight up didn't let him catch. So he was iffy behind the plate before that. And if we know one thing about the Tigers is that they value defense, especially you always hear coaches and teams talk about up the middle. So catcher is one position where I cannot see them settling for anything subpar behind the plate. So I would think he either platoons at first base or DH, but the Tigers kind of have lefty mashers at both of those. Like, I don't know, Kerry Carpenter at DH and Torkelson / Colt Keith at first base. So I don't know. I don't know where he's going to play, but I think he won was that 2024? He won the Arizona Fall League Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? He hit 433, 10 homers, and 27 RBIs.
Yeah, that's really where the power came on the scene because I liked him a lot from like a hit tool perspective. I was like, man, this guy is such a good hitter. And he's 6'4". I was like, he's got like I was thinking this like 2 years ago or something. And it was on like when I was on Prospect One with the Welsh, and I was just like, this guy needs to get into more power. Like this guy's got this crazy good hit tool, and there's just like no power here. And then he went to fall league, and the power just took off. And then last year he put up 20 bombs. So the power is now here to stay. He had a max EV of 114.3 in 2024. That was not even 2025. We don't have any exit velocity numbers from 25. And he had a 107.5 90th percentile EV in 2024 also. So that was as a young 20-year-old or whatever, before he was even 21. And now here he is playing at a really nice double A age to level as a 21-year-old. And I gave him Raymond on my tools. I gave him a hit tool of a 50 grade out of a 60. Plate approach, I gave him a 55 out of 60. Power, I gave him a 55 out of 65. And then speed, I gave him a 30 out of 30. But F scores have him at a 115 power, 101 hit, 110 discipline. I think the hit is better than what F scores are rating him as for now. But the thing is that F scores are going to draw on StatCast data that we don't have
Mhm.
access to right now. So once we get more StatCast data, I think that hit tool is going to tick up from that 101 that we see there. Because I think he's a much better hitter than league average for Briseño. But I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
He's, like I said, he's top 30 prospect for me.
Yeah, so apparently when he went out with this knee injury, the I found an article that he came back more athletic. He used this time off to get more athletic, specifically in his lower half, and that allowed him to take off in the AFL. So everything you said, the timeline lines up perfectly. So I think he's another one that could take a pretty big jump here. I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised if he's in Detroit in 2025. Honestly, I could see if I had to pick one person to get traded off this list, it'd probably be him.
Just because of so many catchers. I hope not, though,
Just
man. I hope they hold on to him.
yeah, I don't. How long do the Tigers have torque for?
I think they've got him for 2 or 3 more years, but he's going to
I'm
be
looking
entering
it up.
arbitration years, and there might be a point where they're like, I don't know, torque is just a lot of power and not a lot else. So I don't know how do you really want to keep him, or would you rather transition? From
I
him to
think the
someone
Tigers
else.
want Colt Keith to stick around first base too. I don't think they're ever gonna 2028. The Tigers have him for 3 more years at Arb.
Yeah, well, they also have a DH. So number 3 is Bryce Rayner, who was the shortstop, and of course, Detroit's always going to run into this Bryce Rayner versus Connor Griffin thing. That's going to happen forever. But Bryce Rayner was actually way better than people think because of his injury.
Yeah, he
So
got hurt.
this is 6'3", 195-pound shortstop who's going to be 20 next year. It'll be his age 20 season. He was 19 this last year, and he had a 844 OPS, 9 steals in only 150 at bats for a 75% stolen base success rate. So aggressive on the base pass with a 26% attempt rate. And this is the thing that I love: 92.1 average EV, 107.9 90th, and a 111.6 max EV. All those numbers are from a 19-year-old. Like those are ridiculous exit velocities for a 19-year-old. Those are like major league all-star level exit velocities. The only problem is his launch angles kind of suck. 5-degree average launch angle. You can see a 50% ground ball rate. So he's hitting the ball kind of all over the place. He's not getting really consistent launch angles, even though he does have an 11.2% barrel rate. So that's a good barrel rate. He's just, for whatever reason, like inconsistent. He's like good at barreling it, but he's inconsistent overall on his angles. He's just like really good at partial percent of the time as far as barrels. But he's only 19, so that's something that's going to come around. And contact rates are not bad. 72% contact rate you can live with if someone's hitting the ball this hard. And plate approach is pretty good. 14% walk rate, 21% K rate. So I'm a big Bryce Rayner fan. I think this dude is a future all-star caliber player.
Dude, the I'm glad you still have him this high because a lot of people are lower on him, I think, because of injury. And I think he like dislocated his shoulder or something. It was a pretty serious one.
Yeah,
But
he missed the whole season after, but that's your buying window.
right,
Like right
exactly.
now is the time to buy him in this offseason because as soon as he starts doing stuff again, then people are gonna be like, oh yeah, he exists and he's really good. So like right now is your best buying window for him.
I don't know. Yeah, 52.8% hard hit rate, 10.1% barrel rate as a 19-year-old. He was getting Corey Seager comps coming out of the draft, and you know Corey Seager is one of my all-time favorite players. Uh, I think he is truly the one to stick at shortstop. If he grows out of it, I guess he could. They said he might move over to third, but he was a two-way player in high school, and some scouts told him that he should go pitch. So he's got an absolute cannon on defense, and I think he runs
Yeah.
enough that 30-10 as a major leaguer, full, like 30 homers, 10 steals, like enough to get you by. So yeah, I think he's going to be a stud. He's far
Yeah.
away though. He's far
He
away.
he's good defensively. I comped him. So my comp you might not like, but my comp on him is lefty Williams mechanics with a better hit tool and plate skills.
His
If you watch video of him and Carson Williams right next to each other, you're gonna be like, that's the same exact stance. It's crazy. It's just one's a lefty and one's a righty.
they said his swing gets a little long and loopy in the box, but I think the Tigers will help him work through that. Yeah, I'm Chris Rodriguez is probably my favorite, and then he's second favorite, like
I think
long
he's gonna
term.
move fast. I like he'll probably break at high A and probably spend half the season at double A. And then next year you're looking at like a triple A and maybe a cup of coffee. Like he could still be a 2027 guy, I think, for Rayner.
He hasn't
Just because
even.
he's so good.
Yeah, I don't know if he will start at high A. The Tigers don't like to send you to a new level until they think you've completely mastered the previous one. So I could see him starting at A ball again.
Oh, he shouldn't. I mean, if he does, then great. If I can see
It'll
him,
be,
but
I would see, it'd probably be a month or two, but yeah, I don't think the Tigers think about that the way other teams do.
yeah. So next on the list is Max Clark, who is a top 10 prospect. I've got him at number 6 overall. And it's been fun watching him this offseason because this dude posts on socials every single
Dude,
day.
the first thing I wrote down is S tier Twitter follow.
Yes, for sure. And he'll like get into conversations and fights
Arguments.
with people too about
Yeah.
like guys like with batting techniques and stuff like that. So this dude is just such a baseball dog that I love him. He walks more than he strikes out, which is like also something I love. Like over the last year, an 18% walk rate and a 16% K rate with an 83% contact rate. So this guy has a killer hit tool, killer plate skills. There's plus power in there. He hasn't gotten it to it yet. Like right now, he's only showing like average power. And one of the craziest things is when I saw his F score for speed, I told John when he did the algos, when he like took my algos and actually did the coding for it, I was like, dude, something in your coding is screwed up. I was like, how does Max Clark only have a 104 speed? I was like, that has to be broken. I was like, he is way freaking faster than that. I was like, I've got a comp on him with Corbin Carroll. Like he's like, I've got like my tool for him is a potential 70 grade speed. I'm like, what is it? Like this has to be broken. And he's like, no, the problem is he's not aggressive on the base paths. And I was like, show me. So I made him put this bar up here, and you can see Raymond. He only ran 12% of the time that he was on first. He was successful 90% of the time for 19 steals, but he only ran 12% of the time, which is crazy because he is so fast and such a good base stealer that he should be running like 30% of the time. So I don't know if this is something where the Tigers just don't want him running because they don't want him to get hurt in the minors or something like that. Or they're like, dude, we know you can steal it. You don't have to do it. Like, we're not gonna promote you faster if you get 60 steals. So just focus on hitting or like what? But this is a dude who should run way more. And that's what's affecting his F score grade on the speed. So when you see 99 power, 102 hit, 122 discipline, 104 speed, he's way freaking faster than that. It's just for whatever reason, he's only running 12% of the time, and that's affecting his speed score because the speed score is going to be based on how good you are at stealing bases, your sprint speeds and how fast you are, and then how aggressive you are. It's a combination of all three. And so if he's not aggressive, if he's conservative on the base pass, that's going to ultimately affect his speed F score. But I love Max Clark. Like I said, I've got him ranked number 6 in my next ranking. My grades that I threw on him, I give him a 60 out of 70 on the hit, a 60 out of 70 on the plate approach, a 45 out of 60 on the power, and a 55 out of 70 on the speed. So if he actually reaches all those things, like this dude could be like a potential superstar.
I'm glad you mentioned Corbin Carroll because as I was going through this, that thought crossed my mind, and I was like, "There's no like that's pretty far fetched. Like that's kind of crazy." But I think you're right. Like I think what's going to determine whether he's a really good player or a superstar is the power, and then how much the Tigers let him run because he has all the tools. My favorite thing that he posts is how many different swings he has. So like depending on the count and the handedness of the pitcher and how hard they throw, like he has all these different swings that he can just get to like a line drive the other way or a pull to the down the right field line. Like he posts all the time, but he also posts very interesting content. So I highly recommend anyone to go follow him. But yeah, I think Clark and McGonigal, I feel very confident saying they're going to be points league standouts today. I feel confident saying that. If the power comes along, they could be roto standouts too.
So as a Tigers fan, when do you think Max Clark debuts?
27. I
Ooh,
don't
not
think,
confident in aggressive Scott Harris, huh?
I just think you have Riley Green, who's going to play 155 games in the outfield. You have Parker Meadows, who the Tigers still really like, and who does a lot of the same things well that Max Clark does. He's fast. He has great defense. Can cover every blade of grass at Comerica. Um, Kerry Carpenter, who's going to play in right field. I think. I think that they want him. I don't know. I think he kind of needs to. He's bulked up a little bit since his high school days, but I don't think. I don't think it's 2026. If it is, it's a cup of coffee at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say that'd be my guess is end of season. Like he'll maintain rookie eligibility for 2027, but if they're making a playoff run, he could be one of these guys who comes up at the very end of the season and like makes the playoff squad, I think. Um, but then still maintains like rookie eligibility for next year. So that's kind of like my thought process on
who am
it.
I missing in the Tigers outfield?
Kerry Carpenter.
Javier Baez, who played a ton of outfield
Yeah,
this year.
Javi. Yeah. So if you notice, someone may be asking if you're listening, where's Troy Melton? If you're watching, you see that I put in little stars on the list. I put Troy Melton not included because he's at 45 and 2/3 innings and he's so close to the 50. And I'm like sick of ranking him. So I just didn't throw him on. But if I was ranking Troy Melton, he would be between Chris Rodriguez and Briseño, so he'd be like number 5, basically. So just an FYI, in case you're wondering. But our number 1 prospect for the Tigers should be no surprise to anybody. It's Kevin McGonigal, who's my number 2 prospect overall.
The
And
consensus number 2 across baseball, it seems.
yes, in points leagues, I would actually have him number 1. So if I'm in a points leagues,
Yep.
I'd actually have him ahead of Connor Griffin. But Kevin McGonigal, these F scores are ridiculous. He's got a 118 power, a 107 hit, a 131 discipline, 104 speed, 97 durability because he was hurt at the beginning of the year last year for a 114 grade and an age-adjusted WRC plus of 171. Since he was also young for all these for high A and for double A last year, he was young, and then he played in the Arizona Fall League and mashed there. So there's a good chance that he's up pretty early. He may not break camp, Raymond, talking about like when McGonigal will debut, but I think that this is like one of those guys who's called up like post Super 2, where they're like, this guy's just too good. Like if he doesn't break camp and he's just destroying AAA for like a month and a half, and then they get past the Super 2 thing, I think they call him up. Or do you think they just call him up from the get and they try to get the extra draft pick? Like, I don't know if like Scott Harris hasn't really been in this position with the rookies yet. So like, what do you think he's going to do as far as like how aggressive they're going to be on a McGonagall call up to start the season?
So they were in position to be, they were lined up to be in this position once, and then they paid Colt Keith early. They signed him to that super long extension, so it didn't matter. But I think I think the Tigers will call him up as soon as they think he's ready. And they legitimately don't care when that is. If they think he's ready out of spring, he'll be on the team. If they think it's 2 weeks after that, it'll be 2 weeks after that. I truly don't think they care when that is. If that's in August, they'll do it in August.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think you're probably right there. So McGonagall, some interesting stats behind the numbers is that we have very limited Statcast data on him because he was not in AAA. So his EVs, take for a grain of salt. There's only 16 batted ball events, but in the 16 batted ball events, he was hitting the ball hard pretty consistently. Didn't get to like his max. So I would take this 107.6 with a grain of salt there. But contact rates, he was running 82 to 84% at the different levels and a 91% zone contact rate. He's not a guy who's too patient either. So he's swinging the ball at a regular rate, 45% swing rate. So you're not going to run into Emmanuel Rodriguez or Lars Nootbaar syndrome where the dude just doesn't swing the bat, and that's the problem. So he's aggressive, and he's not too aggressive because he's also not chasing. So he's aggressive in zone, not out of the zone. Almost a 1,000 OPS. Like basically, this dude was a complete stud. Was hurt, 400 at bats, still 19 bombs, doubles machine too on top of it. The only thing that you can hate on for Kevin McGonagall is that his stolen bases were down. In 2024, he had 22 steals. 2025, it dropped to 10, and his stolen base success rate dropped from 92% to 59%. So I don't know if this is something where they're just like, dude, we don't care. We don't want you stealing. Like, stop doing it. Because like we don't want you to get hurt. We need you. I just don't know, what their internal dialogue is on this kind of stuff. But like we saw his and Max Clark's steals both basically cut in half from the previous year. And I think that's just it's probably not a player decision. You know what I mean? That's probably coming from somewhere higher up is what my guess would be. Got anything on McGonagall here?
Sorry, I was trying to look up the most steals anyone's ever had under AJ Hinch, and apparently it's Jose Altuve with 30 in 2016. I don't think he likes running a lot, and you've kind of seen that with the fast players the Tigers have had already. Parker Meadows doesn't run as much as people think he does or should. So I would be pretty skeptical on anyone having elite stolen base totals with the Tigers. But no,
that makes sense.
I absolutely love Kevin McGonagall. He was one of two hitters with a 390 plus OBP, a 275 plus ISO, and at least 350 plate appearances last year. And then in the last 15 years, he's one of only three players with a 275 plus ISO and more walks and strikeouts with at least 300 plate appearances. The other two people were Vinny P and Juan Soto. Like, he's going to be so good. I wrote down points over Roto too. I don't know if he has enough power to be elite, but he keeps smashing. So
yeah, the only problem is that Sam has him in all the leagues that we're in, so no one's ever gonna get him because Sam will never let him go, even if you trade your whole team. So
I traded him in one of my dynasty leagues to go all in the championship, and I didn't win. So I think I have him one place now. Is all out of the 7 leagues I'm in. I'm down to 7, Tim. You should be proud of me.
That's pretty good. I just got an invite yesterday to a league, and I'm probably going to decline it because I think I think I'm capped. I think I'm maxed. So that's the podcast. Thanks for jumping back on, Raymond. Glad to have you back, brother. I love it. So go follow Raymond on the X at Raymond Atherton. Do you still have the tilde in there, Raymond? I didn't look.
I don't
pre-podcast?
know. I don't think so.
Raymond used to have
Uh,
the Acuna tilde
I
in his
I
name.
I think I took it out when he came back. Remember that was the whole bit.
Yeah, which I have no idea how you even add it in. So I'm jealous because I don't even know how you do a tildes on English keyboard, but you made it happen. So follow Raymond on the X, and then follow me, Tim Kanak, at Fantasy Ace Ball, and make sure you subscribe to the MLB Data Warehouse. You can go to MLB Data Warehouse and subscribe very, very easily. There's an annual plan, there's a monthly plan. If you subscribe, then you get all the cool tools that we're showing on the YouTube. So you get all the dashboards where you get F scores that are updated live, and F scores are also going to be probably a part of talking to Ross Jensen. It looks like they're going to be part of the their formulated consensus. So they're going to be using F scores to help in their formulated consensus for the future on Scout the Stat Line and on what's the other one that he owns now? Prospects Live. So you can check that stuff out and make sure you subscribe to MLB Data Warehouse, because that is how you're going to beat your teammates. So you can see all these cool charts and stuff, and you can play with the sliders and kind of basically look up any StatCast data you want, even for minors and majors, like most of the stuff you can't find anywhere else. So pretty cool place to sign up for. Thanks for watching. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you next time.